Show. For more information, go to thericksmithshow.com. If you've missed any portion of the program, you can download the podcast at thericksmithshow.com.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a diversified media enterprises production. I'm Doug Cunningham. Missouri workers have stopped the anti-union right-to-work law there in its tracks. Passed by a Republican-dominated legislature, the anti-worker law attacking union finances was set to take effect August 28th. But thanks to a ballot initiative petition drive, Labor delivered enough signatures to block the law. The question will now be on the state ballot in Missouri in 2018. Mike Lewis is president of the Missouri AFL-CIO.
We've done a long process of making sure people understand exactly what right to work does, which is cut wages, reduce benefits, make more unsafe working conditions for everyone, not just those covered under a collective bargaining agreement, but for everyone across the state.
Lewis says Missouri's people oppose the anti-union law Republicans call right to work.
The working people of Missouri fully understand the implications of what a bad law right to work really is. We voted it down in 78. There was a threat to put it on the ballot by the legislature again in 1986, and we had a governor stand on the front steps of the Capitol at a rally in '86 and tell us that if he had anything to do with it, right to work would never be on the ballot again because Missouri does not like right to work.
UAW Local 6000 in Michigan is gearing up to resist an effort by the state to further restrict state worker collective bargaining. Local 6000 is strongly against the civil service collective bargaining rule changes and is urging all UAW members to attend a Civil Service Commission meeting in Michigan September 20th. The UAW International is helping the local mobilize against the collective bargaining restrictions. GOP Governor Snyder's administration wants to end collective bargaining for state workers over how overtime is paid, how workers are reassigned after layoffs, and how performance pay is determined. The state also wants to give the Civil Service Commission power to change rules for employees, even while negotiated contracts are in effect. The news is brought to you by Impact, the Ironworker Management Progressive Action Cooperative Trust. Impact's mission is more jobs for contractors and for ironworker members. You can become an ironworker in Washtenaw Community College's pre-apprenticeship program. Finish 24 credits at your own pace and become an ironworker Local 25 apprentice. Earn while you learn. Apply now at wccnet.edu.iron. That's wccnet.edu.iron. WIN is America's multimedia voice for workers. Support that mission at workersindependentnews.com. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit workersindependentnews.com.
It's time for the Rick Smith Show.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
I don't want to abolish government. I simply want to reduce it to the size where I could drag it into the bathroom and drown in the bathtub.
You bet I cut the taxes at the top.
How dare you? How dare you? Go ahead. Make my day.
The Rick Smith Show starts now.
Welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for tuning in today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Yesterday, the big speech. Yes, endless war. That's where we're going. Endless war. Endless war. Yep. And also the big Paul Ryan town hall. Evidently not thinking about doing any real debates. Going to do a CNN town hall. We'll talk about that. Also, the big to-do tonight in Phoenix. Will there be a rumble? Will the Trump folks, will the Trumpster give the faithful the red meat that they so seem to desire, and that is the pardon of Sheriff Pink Underwear Joe Arpaio? Or is the Arpaio talk all just, really good PR from the Underwear Brigade? We'll see. You have to think, though. I mean, the pink underwear stuff, always bizarre. I always thought it came from kind of a cross-dresser, kind of maybe some deeply seated repression. I don't know, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see, though, if the Trumpster comes out and gives the red meat. But first, right to the topic of the morning, the day, top of the hat, the big speech last night. This is one of those alternative reality worlds where if you listen to the right wing, you listen to Sean Hannity, who said that the speech was the right tone, the right cadence, and the right pitch. Not sure what that meant, but hey, got to be the cheerleader. Fox and Friends said that, Trump laid out the Trump doctrine, which could be described as principled realism. And again, this is the term that the administration's throwing out there, kind of like Bush's compassionate conservatism. This is the principled realism. Yet, if you listen to the speech, and I did twice, I'm not quite sure. This is the new word for, you said something on the campaign that you're not doing. Understand, he was against Afghanistan. He said, stupid, dumb people, and now he's flipped on this, and he's basically committed us to at least, being in Afghanistan until 2021. That's the commitment. And again, he gave the speech, and it was one of those moments where you go, didn't Obama give this exact speech? Did he plagiarize Obama again? With the no blank checks and the situation on the ground will dictate and all. Didn't he? Isn't this the exact speech, only with less details? Now, here's my problem. I mean, they're talking about increasing the troop levels, and it's being reported about 4,000. And I couldn't help but go, what can 4,000 additional troops do that 100,000 couldn't do from several years back? It's bizarre to me, and I got to be honest. I'm really tired of these talking heads and these pundits saying tonight he was presidential, like oh my gosh, today was the grand transformation. He read off a teleprompter, and as we saw last week, when he reads off the teleprompter, he can almost stay on message. It's that moment when someone asks him a question and he has to actually answer it with his own words, with big boy words, not someone else's written words on a teleprompter. But a couple of the other things that Fox News threw out, again, you had the military analyst Jack Keane, who said, I'm impressed because we finally got a commander-in-chief who speaks honestly. Yeah, Cappuccino Perino said, it was a great speech. We're going to stay and we're going to win. John Bolton, famous crazy guy who said, we could blow the top 10 floors off of the UN building. The speech was delivered. Much of what the president said is exactly right. Ollie North, remember Ollie? Yeah, Ollie said, Trump hasn't given a specific number of troops. He's going to put out there. That's very important. That's a very positive thing. And my two favorite, Newt Gingrich, this was one of the most honest national security speeches of my lifetime. Anytime the word honest and Newt go in the same sentence, I got to start questioning. And Ed Henry said one word, leadership. And I got to be honest, I watched the speech twice. I listened to every word twice. And what I walked away with is, one, there's nothing new here. All of this has been done. We're basically showing that nothing he said on the campaign trail it matters at all. He's like a fish on the deck. He's gonna flip whichever way he can. There were no details. That was one thing that was clear. There was nothing. The only thing that we know is we're going to be in Afghanistan until at least 2021, and we're going to be spending more money and more blood and more and really ticking off more people. Now, again, like I said, I'm not sure what 4,000 additional troops are going to be able to do that 100,000 couldn't, but this is not a new course. The only new component in this that you could possibly say is that we're not going to put a timetable in place. And that was a big crazy thing. And look, I don't even know that I agree with saying, by this date we're going to get out. But that's the only new thing here. Outside of, maybe the dog whistle. And there was one of those moments where you go, because I know so many Trump supporters who have told me that, we have these rules of engagement and we need to get rid of the rules. And, I've talked to people who have told me that, one, the rules exist. For instance, I talked to a kid who's in our OCT program. He tells me that in Afghanistan and Iraq, if someone shoots at you with a .38 caliber handgun, you cannot return fire with anything more than a .38 caliber. Now, that sounds ludicrous to me, and I've asked a number of people who were actually there, and they tell me that that's not accurate. But it's what's being thrown around. All of this stuff, this misinformation that's being thrown out there. So when they hear someone like Trump say, finally, my administration will ensure that you, the brave defenders of the American people, will have the necessary tools and rules of engagement to make this strategy work and work effectively and work quickly. He says, I have already lifted restrictions that previous administrations placed on our war fighters that prevented the Secretary of Defense and our commanders in the field from fully and swiftly waging battle against the enemy. Micromanagement from Washington, D.C. does not win battles. That was the dog whistle. That was for all of those people who told me, we're not fighting to win. This is what they're hoping to hear him say. We're just going to wipe everybody out. We're going to go and we're just going to slaughter everybody. Because I can't tell you how many people I've had tell me, well, you know what? We just kill them all and let God sort them out. That's the kind of thinking that this conjures. That we're going to go and we're going to kill a bunch of Muslims. We're going to bury them in a pit and put pig's blood on them. This plays to the base. This is that dog whistle. This is that red meat that gets them all tingly in the panties and all wadded up. Another thing that really jumped out at me, honestly, Donald Trump said, I studied Afghanistan a great deal and from every conceivable angle. Does anybody believe that? I mean, honestly and truthfully, does anybody believe he was up late at night studying Afghanistan? I got to be honest, I don't even think he can find it on a map. And I don't say that with any glee or joy or happiness that our president might be so ignorant to not be able to find it on the map. The other thing that jumped out, and I'm sure jumped out at a lot of people, he said terrorists who slaughter innocent people will find no glory in this life or the next. They are nothing but thugs and criminals and predators, and that's right, losers. He had to throw losers in there. And I just found it interesting that, you're talking about a 16, almost 17-year-long war that we're struggling. And, they don't call Afghanistan the graveyard of empire for nothing. We haven't learned the lessons of the past. And we're going to continue to make the same dumb mistakes. Any surprise here? Now, my fear is that we just continue to muddle along, and we make bigger rocks even smaller. But more importantly, we make the people of that region even more radicalized. There are people, I'm sure, that want a sane, stable country, but I don't know that this is going to move us in that direction. Going to be interesting to find out. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back and talk a little bit about more about this with our good friend David Yankovic. Also, the big Paul Ryan town hall last night. David was there. We'll get some reaction from that. Quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You listen to the Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
Disorder in the house. There's a flaw in the system, and the fly in the ointment storm.
Believed that women should be a part of union management to make sure that attention was paid to issues like equal opportunity, equal pay, parental leave, child care, health insurance, and discrimination in the workplace. Joyce grew up in Chicago, where she earned her master's degree in education from the University of Chicago. She first entered the labor movement as a worker at a gumball factory while attending college. After graduation, she became the education director for the Amalgamated Clothing Workers Union in Pittsburgh. She remained dedicated to union education for rank and file members. Joyce was a founding member of the Coalition of Labor Union Women, or CLU. She served as CLU's East Coast vice president, eventually being elected CLU's president in 1977, a position she would hold for 15 years. Under her leadership, CLU worked as a powerful voice for women's reproductive rights, improving child care, and increasing the number of women in union leadership positions. In 1993, President Bill Clinton named Joyce Miller the executive director of the Glass Ceiling Commission. The purpose of the commission was to gather testimony about women's experience in the workplace and to draft a report of their findings. Of her career, Joyce said, "I came to the labor movement with stars in my eyes. I saw it as a vehicle for social change, and I never changed my mind." Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
I disavow these requirements. I regret those comments that he made. I don't think claiming a person can't do their job because of their race is sort of like the textbook definition of a racist comment. I think that should be absolutely disavowed. It's absolutely unacceptable.
Cowardice. Are you serious? Apologies for freedom. I can't handle this. When freedom rings, answer the call. On your feet, stand up tall. Freedom's on our shoulders. USA! Enemies of freedom. Face the music. Come on, boys, take them down. President Donald Trump knows how to make America great.
His approval ratings are going to go up as, if he looks tough. When he dropped the mother of all bombs, he saw a spike. When, he talks about Afghanistan or North Korea or going to war or fighting with everybody, that's his base, and his supporters get all riled up over it. So we'll see a bump. He'll get a little bump today.
Do you think there'll be a bump, or do you think that people are entrenched in their thoughts of him? Because look, I understand last night was really about changing the message of what happened in Charlottesville and all of that stuff. But do you think people are really dumb enough to buy it?
Oh, they're dumb enough to vote for him. I sure think that they're dumb enough to buy that. Yeah. And the thing is, there's a lot of people out there who still haven't made up their mind on this guy. They're sitting with their family and friends who met him in their small towns, and they think that he's, a good guy who's not doing a good job, and all of a sudden he makes a speech where, he actually has a pulse that doesn't sound like a jerk. And, I think that, he'll get a bump from those supporters. The people who are already kind of leaning that way anyway, the regular Fox News people who, were kind of getting iffy about all the horrible stuff that was happening. Last night he had a presidential moment. Anybody can read off a teleprompter, but, it was a speech that was delivered that a president would deliver normally. So, yeah, he's going to see a bump up, and I'm saying probably, 5 points or something like that, which will put him in the mid-30s.
No, that's not really a bump, but I guess from where he's at now. But, while you were watching it last night, did you get the sense that I did that, this was kind of a dog whistle kind of speech for those people who've been saying, for too long our military has been restrained, and now the gloves are off, and now we're going to go in and we're just going to slaughter people. Did you get that sense?
Of course I did. I mean, and I also got the sense that he didn't believe anything that he was saying. I think that tonight at the rally in Arizona, we're going to see a different Donald. What he's saying right now.
Yeah, I woke up this morning looking to the Twitter saying, let's see how fast he reverses course.
All his hardest supporters, he's going to be in his mode of campaigning, and he's going to get cocky, and he'll say something stupid, and then he'll be right back to where he was. This happened right after when he did the joint address to Congress. Everybody said Donald Trump became president tonight,
Yeah,
and by the next day, everybody was like, oh nope, he embarrassed us again.
Can we at some point stop with the tonight he became presidential? Can we at least stop that at some point?
I would love that. I think I'm gonna carry a sign when I go to a protest from now on, just that says tonight he became president.
Because at some point you have to go. The training wheels have to come off. At some point you have to learn from your mistakes instead of continuing to make the same ones over and over.
Well, it seems to me that the presidents who came into office and made mistakes, which they all do, every single one of them does, because there are training wheels.
Sure.
But there's a humility to it. Like, when JFK had the Bay of Pigs invasion, he was really humbled after that. He changed the whole way the military operated and the CIA and everything else. So, you have that's the forgiveness, like, from the American people. You're new, we understand. But he has no modesty or humility, not I screwed up or this was my fault. He blames everybody else and kind of rolls on. So, I think that's probably, every wound that Trump has, it's self-inflicted every single time.
Yeah, his problems have really been self-made. But I look at this and again, tonight's big rally, I'm going, he's in campaign mode still, and the election isn't until 2020, and yet he's really accomplished nothing. Because I look at last night's speech, and to be honest, this looked to me, and maybe you'll agree or disagree, but this was a plagiarized speech of Obama's, after he decided that we were going to continue the same Bush course.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, this isn't the first time they plagiarized the Obamas, right? But it's funny to me that Trump has campaigned more already than Paul Ryan has, and Paul Ryan's in trouble. He hasn't had really any rallies, any kind of. He's fundraising, but he hasn't gone out and met constituents or done any of that. And last night in Racine, Paul Ryan was at Randy Bryce's hometown, and he held a pretend town hall where they pre-screened the questions and everything. But the crowd outside for that was insane. It was amazing, all the people that were there. And it's funny because Donald Trump's campaigning like every other weekend, once, twice a month right now, and you're seeing like Republicans in actual races that are probably going to lose. They're not even waking up yet.
Well, the hope is that we see that kind of a wave that the Republicans got in 2010 to at least put some sanity back in what's going on in Washington. Oh. I'm looking at just the insanity, the craziness that's coming out of the White House and a Republican Party that's just getting further and further to the fringe. And at some point you have to at least go, how do you pull back from this?
Well, the thing that's really scaring me right now is they don't seem to care that we're raising record amounts of money, that there is more activity than there's ever been. It's either they're so arrogant they don't think they can lose, which I could see that, or they've done something like hacked a vote and they know they're not going to lose. But one of the two scenarios is going to happen, and that's what's scaring the crap out of me. Because like Paul Ryan right now, he's facing a challenger who raised close to $1 million or over $1 million, and the first month that he was in the race, no one's done that against him in 18 years.
Right.
And he's not showing any kind of worriedness other than showing up in Randy's town hall and stuff. They're still kind of going on as business as usual. They're making their money or whatever. But this is across the country. You have like ISA in California. You have all these different races, but they're not showing any type of stress yet. Which maybe that's a good thing for us. But in the back of my mind, the pessimistic side, it's like, what did they do? What's going on behind the scenes here?
Do you buy the, or I guess the people in that district, since you're there, are they buying the Ryan position that Trump just messed up? On Monday he was when he was teleprompter Trump, he was doing just fine, but he messed up, and we don't need to censure. Is that playing in your district?
I haven't met one person who has that view, but I haven't talked to every single person in the district, of course. But everybody that I've talked to, even Republicans who support Trump, they're like, this is disgusting. Like, I can't believe he didn't, bash the white supremacists. Like, who are we becoming? I mean, even like the hardest Trump supporters, that I talked to were, of that opinion. I'm sure there's others out there who are like, who cares? I mean, I've talked to people in the past that I don't care if Russia hacked our election. I don't care if we go to war. Trump's our president. Deal with it. So I mean, but the people I've talked to, it's always been like, this is appalling. Like, this should not be happening here.
Yeah, I mean, and also last night he discussed the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, and again, I thought he flubbed it again, and I was saying, well, we passed ours. Yeah, your horrible bill did pass. The one that was going to kick 24 million, 25 million people off the rolls of the uninsured, off the insured rolls. Yeah, you passed that. I think he's got to own that.
I'm so glad that he owns that, because we're going to really hit him hard with it over the next year and a half. So, yeah, embrace with both arms and go to the bottom of the ocean with it.
That and the tax cut thing. How bizarre was his analogy that the person who, it's that single mother, the tax, who's getting all those social programs. Did you, in talking about taxes, did that grab you?
Well, it does, but it always does, because, I mean, if you look at Paul Ryan on Scripted, and he's probably the most polished, Republican that there is. When you look at him on Scripted, he says things like they're takers, and that they're mooching off the systems, and all that stuff. So when he says things like that, it hits me, because that's actually him going off script a little bit. That's how he really feels. He thinks that a single mother is a moocher on the system, and he needs to remove that problem. That's the way he sees things. That's the way he views the world. For a guy who grew up on entitlements, who made his own, basically in that same situation, he sure has forgotten where he came from and the people that he's supposed to be representing. Everybody here is good, hardworking, friendly, just wants to, they don't want millions and millions of dollars. They just want enough just to be able to look their kids in the face and know that the health care is taken care of and their bills are paid. And Paul Ryan's really forgotten who his constituents are. And I'm not saying that as an operative or as a politician. I mean, I really believe that he has no idea who the hell his people are.
Well, I mean, you could make the argument that he's been in Washington for so long that he's forgotten where the bread's buttered.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that he spends so much time with the power and the lobbyists and everything else that he has no idea. Because I mean, if he took like the trips that I take and talked to the same people I do, I can't imagine if he would be able to look them in the face and say the same things that he does behind closed doors. It's horrible. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing. I mean, it's amazing that he can look people in the eye and say, "Yeah, we're gonna take your health care away, but it's gonna be better. Trust me."
Yeah, we're gonna remove everything that you're depending on, but trust us, we'll fix it.
Sad. I mean, it's sad and it's frightening all at the same time. But I do want to go back a minute to the big thing tonight. The big rally tonight. Do you? Because I understand they expect a couple 10,000 counter protesters to show up. Are we expecting any conflicts? I mean, I'm hoping not, because this kind of stuff is, I fear a powder keg for what I think the Trump people want, and it's that kind of chaos in the streets that they can clamp down on.
Well, it's not just that. Trump wants that too. He wants to be able to blame the counter protesters as being violent. The right-wing media wants to portray the protesters as paid from outside the district, or they want to show that there's violence, or that there's, because that's what they're trying to say. And all their ads and in all their media, it's that the, left is the violent ones and we're being persecuted here, and, we need to keep going and fight. They're the ones who stand in the middle of the street, run them over. I mean, I see these memes and I see the things that they're saying. So, I mean, Trump wants that as well. So I hope tonight that there's a good police presence. I hope that they keep everybody separated. And, if you're part of the resistance and you're going out there tonight, it's not worth it. Keep it positive. If someone's in your face screaming at you, walk away from it. Like, be the better person.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. In my lifetime, I never thought that as a country we would see anyone here, defending Nazis. I mean, I can't tell you the number of emails I've gotten from folks who are saying, "Well, it's about free speech." No, it's about defending Nazis.
I mean, we literally fought a world war over this. I mean, we literally went to the brink of the end to stop Nazism, and and everything that was happening. And I mean, I'm with you. I never thought I'd see it either. I mean, you know, the white supremacists, they used to be on the fringes. You couldn't even talk about it. Like, I mean, they would be like on Jerry Springer as a joke, you know, and I never thought we'd be at a point where, like, CNN has them as, you know, talking heads, and that they're showing up to these rallies. And, I mean, even like the Boston thing, I mean, we showed up with 30,000 people and blocked them out. But the fact that we had to show up with 30,000 people to block them out says a lot about the time we're living in.
Yeah. So does Trump throw out the red meat tonight? Does he pardon Joe Arpaio?
I can never predict what he's going to do. It sounds like he's tinkering with the idea of it, and I guess there's a rumor that he's going to show up tonight. I don't know if he's going to, but I'll say that Trump's going to be in his element with his people in a campaign mode. So, I mean, we're definitely going to see the stupidity fly.
Yeah, let the crazy fly. Any predictions for the thing tonight?
I mean, I think that we're going to see large protests. I think that Trump's going to say a bunch of stupid things. I think that he'll probably erase maybe the bump that he got last night because of what's going to happen tonight. But then again, you never know. He's so unpredictable.
That's a safe prediction.
Yeah, I'm being safe, man.
Good for you.
I'm a politician.
Like it. Like it. There you go. David, I appreciate the time, man. Great talking with you.
Always. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Good talking to our friend David Yankovic. Let's take a quick break. Right back. 1-888-520-RICK. 1-888-520-7425. What'd you think of last night's speech? Good? Bad? Was it the greatest ever? Legendary?
warming trend. In Montana, a federal district judge has blocked the expansion of a coal mine, criticizing Department of Interior officials for, he says, inflating the short-term economic boost of the mine expansion, but downplaying the short and long-term environmental impacts and climate change caused by the project. He ordered the Interior Department to re-evaluate the mine expansion. Finally, transportation officials across the U.S. want folks to be aware of the potential for a Carmageddon of sorts if they're on the road during the total solar eclipse on Monday, warning of the risk of epic traffic jams and accidents due to distracted drivers. But the eclipse also poses a big challenge for electric grid operators in U.S. states where solar energy is a big contributor to the energy mix. Although California is outside the path of totality, their grid operator projects the eclipse will still cut the output of commercial solar power plants by an amount large enough to power a large city for about 3 hours. But they say they're ready. They're prepared to meet demand by ramping up power from hydroelectric dams and filling in the remainder with natural gas plants.
Yeah, but isn't it just like a cloudy day for 3 hours?
No, it's actually worse, and it also requires them to ramp up and ramp down faster. So it requires a little bit of savvy engineering.
Consider me dubious. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, dubious or not, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Find us, follow us, and share us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.